Hello friends, so continuing on with the political theme of my videos for the past couple days, I wanted to make a video again today specifically talking about the way that fascism targets marginalized people and tokenizes them to use for their own agenda. Because a lot of people on the far right are marginalized people and young people struggling with their identities who are being taken advantage of. Basically, marginalized people are especially vulnerable to this rhetoric because of living under oppression, and it is the natural inclination to want to distance yourself from oppression and want to liberate yourself from oppression. Accepting the inherent and implicit nature of oppression is really difficult because oppression fucking sucks and no one wants to be oppressed. No one wants to be living in a system that is structured against them. And so the far right has basically created this fantasy that one can buy out of or opt out of oppression via respectability and assimilation, and policing the respectability and assimilation of one's own communities. Through this, distancing yourself from marginalization involves basically dissenting from your own community and discrediting your own community while deferring to the opinions and political ideals of your oppressor. It's also worth saying that many marginalized people on the right are very affluent and so are genuinely less likely to experience the level of oppression that other members of their community do. And so that makes that cognitive dissonance easier to perform when one is inclined to enact classism and other forms of intersectional oppression on more intersectional and more marginalized members of one's own community. The right then basically uses these people by essentially getting them to agree to the inherent inferiority of most of, or at least the more marginalized or vocal members of their own group, and then essentially positions them as being ambassadors to that community despite their own disconnection from that community, and then uses their voice to invalidate the liberation movements of that community and basically create the appearance that a group is responsible for their own marginalization via lack of willingness to assimilate. And it's important and useful for the fascist agenda to place these people at the forefront, to amplify their voices and highlight their identities, so that basically when their actual ideologies and when their actual political practices are being criticized, people like Ezra Lafont can say, oh, well, all the people that I sent out were women or gay men or racialized people, as if that changes the fact that they're still enacting violence and oppression on members of their own community and members of other marginalized groups. This fantasy that one is able to liberate oneself from inherent and implicit oppression through performing respectability and assimilation is inherently false. And even if it has temporary and surface level benefits for the individual or monetary benefits for the individual, one is still marginalized within that group and still experiences microaggressions and still can be subject to aggravated violence. And so it's important that people understand that the individual and temporary benefits of participating in this come at the expense of the long-term detriment of one's communities and ultimately the moral bankruptcy of the individual, while not actually ensuring protection from marginalization or oppression. We have to realize that true liberation only comes collectively. I, as a trans person, will only not experience transphobia when trans people are no longer oppressed. And so I would rather suffer with my own community currently to push for long-term liberation and justice and change, rather than basically throwing my community and ultimately myself under the bus to put a band-aid on my individual experience of oppression. And so if you know people, like if you have family members or younger siblings or cousins or friends or people that you associate with who are marginalized and who are espousing far-right political ideologies or aligning themselves with those things, it's important to have those conversations. It's important to make people aware of these issues and make people aware of their own identities and make sure that these people are being supported in their own communities, and also to not tolerate things like classism and things like intra-community oppression, so that you don't get things like rich white cis-passing trans women going on Jordan Peterson's talk show to dump on non-binary people to make themselves look more legitimate, and ultimately harming our entire community in the process. I hope this video was informative to any of you, and if there's any other topics that you'd like me to discuss specifically, you can leave them in the comments down below. I will see you soon, and I hope you have a nice day. Peace out.